Hello everybody and welcome back to Philadelphia. Well, last time out we put in our train systems. We've got a huge big train yard up here and of course a little station, screaming out to have a bus station put into our central transit hub for Few Haven in here. So that's hopefully what we're going to get onto today. I have been leaving it to run for quite some time and we're back up to 191,000 now, making still just under 4,000 an hour. We are almost at milestone 7 though, so with that we do get a nice big boost in money. So we actually get 175 grand. We need 250 to put in the bus station and the bus depot, which of course we'll need. So that will send us nicely over the edge and leave us with a little bit of excess as well. So I think just before we do that, we're going to continue adding to our demands. You see, our commercial and our office have now bounced back. Office, actually, with the taxation, I did lower it down to 9%, and we actually ended up making more money from it that way. So it was making like 24,000 before that. We had one empty office building down here, which is now occupied, and now we're actually making more tax money from that. So yeah, don't be afraid to lower those taxes, because actually you can end up making more money apparently. So there we go, we have got demand for everything. I could consider lowering the industrial tax as well, but we've still got a little bit of demand there, so I'm kind of content and happy with where that's at for the moment. So in terms of expansion, let's get some more residences in over this side over here. We want to start filling out this neighbourhood. But before we do that, let's have a little quick conversation about road network, because this main collector is going to continue on out through these hillsides and bridging over into a neighbourhood that's going to be over this side. So before I do too much here, I want to get that in so that we know where that's running and then we can build out a nice road network around it. What I'm thinking with the bus depot as well is doing a small little industrial area right up against the bottom of the train yard here, so we can introduce our bus depot into that once we have the funds in place for it. I'm also a little bit worried about being able to afford the hourly rate for them as well, because it is going to be quite expensive having two forms of transport in our pretty small city. So hopefully this big residential expansion will also help with that. But let's start off with the collectors. We'll turn on our contour lines for this, and what I'm really aiming for actually is this little gap here. So we probably haven't curved this round enough actually to come through. I'm going to trim it back just a tiny bit like that, and then we'll carry on trying to aim for the right place up here. So let's just do a nice smooth curve, and we want to kind of raise it up a little bit, so I'm content for it to go up the hillside a small amount. I mean, that's really not very steep at all, and then ideally I'd want it to cut through, so we don't want to just go over like that. Let's come into landscaping tools, and I think from about this level let's smooth off a little kind of bridge gap through here. I'm not sure if ferries are going to come down here. I don't think they will. I think we'll keep the ferries out to this main bay area and of course out into the ocean that side. So I don't think height is too much of a concern for us when we're putting this in. So let's just smooth off that little section there. Also smooth off a bit of a section here as well. And I'd also quite like to remove these trees so we can see what we're working with at the same time. So like that should be pretty good. So let's draw this in, and we can almost go straight through here actually. We just want to bend it a tiny bit, so I'm going to turn snapping off of this. Then we can give it a very, very slight bend there. Let's just have a little look at this slope again. That is getting a bit steep, so maybe once we've put this in, we'll actually smooth that out a bit further back, because I think that's probably going to be beneficial. And then yeah, let's curve this a tiny bit to get over the river, and then we're going to go into our bridge. So I would like to use a big bridge for this, I think. And I'm going to keep a close eye on that elevation slope going down here. So that is actually almost flat. So that's pretty good to me. And we get 3 little archways in there, which I think is going to be quite nice. And then we can continue on the road over this side into this nice big flat plateau that is screaming out for development as well. And we could also have roads running underneath here, potentially looping back in if we need to too. Because I'd quite like to get something along the coastline here, I think. Maybe not the rich mansions I mentioned last time. That didn't go down too well with quite a few of you, considering we've got all our dirty industry right here. I did just think they're quite sheltered on this side though. You can't actually see any of that industry. Maybe a couple of little smokestacks over the top. So maybe here would be all right for housing, and then actually this section we keep clear because yeah, the air pollution We don't technically have it on, but if it was on, would be travelling in this direction, so it's probably not going to be hugely nice to live out on that peninsula there. So let's just finish it off by smoothing this out just a touch more. So that feels a bit kinder on my eyes, I think. So I think we'll go for that. And then let's just tidy up some of these edges by smoothing off this terrain around them. I'm going to keep the little cliff faces. I quite like that. So let's come back to this area. And if we take a look at the terrain, I think we could do with a little bit of smoothing off here. We're going to have a slight slope in there. Don't mind a little bit of variation in height here or there. It really adds actually to the kind of dynamics and interest of a city, and also the realism as well. Like, cities aren't completely flat, so we shouldn't be building on completely flat terrain either. So that'll do nicely. So I think up here we'll have a little bit more low density. This is quite a big slope going up around there. So what's probably best here is to sort of almost follow the edge of this hill around. So let's come out at 90 degrees there. Actually, does this take us? It does take us pretty straight into that junction. Let's do that. I've just realised I'm using a massive fat road, so let's change that back for one of our nice normal skinny ones. And then that gives us a little block here for some residences, and we can do a little bit along the edges as well. I am thinking here maybe some row houses or something, because we've got these low income blocks over here, which we know made people have a little bit more household wealth, which is very beneficial indeed. So we could definitely do some little row housing in there. I think what we'll do is bring this road out straight, because I don't want to kind of continue on this formation of grid all the way this way. I want to make it a little bit more interesting. And this means actually we can transition into a grid that's going to be more this orientation. Again, let's make sure we're turning on contours, because I want to leave a nice big banking to protect the houses from the highway here. Eventually, this will probably be upgraded into a 2-way, 3-lane each way separated highway, so a major infrastructure project further down the line there. So there'll definitely be noise pollution and things coming off of that we want to protect our citizens from. So we can now use this as a bit more of a guide, I think, for our road network here. And we definitely want to have another connection into the collector. So let's actually just curve this one in nice and smoothly like that. And then we could also potentially have another connection out here. The banking on the side here is a little bit steep though. So let's go back to our terrain smoothing tool. And perhaps we could even just level out a small portion of it here, and then kind of slope that down the other side, just so it's going to give us a slightly nicer junction out of the road over here. So if we snap that in there, and then we'll make this a nice kind of curvy road following that contour line around, which can almost be the sort of boundary of the development that we're putting in here. So something like that, and then we can transfer back to a nice straight road, going right up to the edge of our keys here. Now, if we are going to put industry in here as well, we're going to need some kind of barrier between them and the residences this side. So that is another consideration to make. So I think we'll have this road here. We'll keep the houses to this side of it. And let's make, I think we'll make the houses 4 deep here. So we'll do 8 deep blocks like this. And then maybe, yeah, we can get 2 lots of 3 on this side. So some slightly smaller residences down this end. And then the industry can probably come off this diagonal road. So that'll sort of give us a bit of a green belt buffer. We'll kind of leave this as a bit of a boundary here and have green belt in between the houses and the industry. That's what I'm thinking. We'll come back to the industry in just a minute. So let's just continue on this part of the grid. And we'll have to be a little bit wary of these, because they are going to start going up slopey terrain here too. But actually it's not a particularly steep slope, so I think that's worked out all right. And I think in here we'll bring out a little curved suburban cul-de-sac type area, something like that, which will just break up some of the rigidity of the grid that we've got going down there. Yeah, that's going to give us a decent amount more housing. So I think let's go ahead and get in that, and then hopefully that'll tip us over into milestone 7. And then we'll get the boost and be able to start looking at the buses and our industrial area. So with that, we have hit level 7 and we've got a nice boost to our money. I was actually just sitting there playing with taxes for a little bit, and I have decided to lower residential and industrial to 11. It's not really affected our hourly budget, so we'll see how that goes. We are getting close to the red line. We've got 54 grand to pay with. If we take a little look at the expenses of these, so that's 7,000 a month, that's 15.5. Obviously we're going to have to add wages, I'm assuming, to both of these to that, which could probably double that. So I think we're going to be in the red after adding buses in. So I think what I'm going to do is start off by building out this industrial area. We could put in some offices in here as well because we've got that demand back, so we can mix in some offices with industry, which I think will be quite nice. I can slow down the game speed now as well. So let's leave a border of, yeah, we'll say 5 units for this. We'll draw this road all the way across here, which is going to be the border into our industrial area. And then I think we can connect up to this diagonal road. I think what we actually might do is divert this off in a horizontal, yeah, coming 90 degrees out of there. Sorry, not horizontal, perpendicular angle to that through road down through to the rail yard. I think that's going to make it a little bit easier in here. So let's start off by placing in the bus depot. We'll see what that does to our budget. So this is 6, probably 9 squares we need for this. And I'd like it to go back up against the rail yard retaining wall. So I think that's going to have to come in about there. Maybe. That might be quite a tight squeeze. Yep, we need to move that 1 block further away. So let's just grab our bulldozer there. So that should look pretty comfortable, I think, for the bus depot. So let's go ahead and grab it again. Yes, that's all right. So let's place this in, I think, right on the corner here, and we can do some industry and office around it. The trouble is the terrain does kind of poke up a little bit here, and I'm not really sure what is keeping it there. Because that is a retaining wall, so there's something, and maybe it's the edge of the rail yard. That's probably what it is. But we can't actually push this down any further than it already is, so that's always going to be a little bit slopey on the back there. I think we can kind of look away from that though. And in terms of upgrades, we definitely want to make sure we're leaving space for a few extra garages, which actually would sit in there pretty nicely, or up against the back side here. We can reconfigure this when we need to put this in, but I think we'll go ahead and add some industry for now. So let's firstly just continue this up. And I think what we will do is kind of base it around a pretty heavy grid system like that. Then let's come into let's go for office first, actually. And we want something that's quite a large depth. We could go for a few small offices and a little block here. We want to mix in parking. So let's maybe go for a lot depth of 4 and see what we get in here. I think we're going to want something a little bit bigger. That is quite a nice asset though. I do like that one. So let's just place that in here. Here we can always move that around. We go for the biggest type of offices. We don't want anything that's too high in level really. We want to kind of stick to generally level 1. Again, that is another very nice building indeed. And what we could do with this is try and create a little bit of a campus out of it. I think might be quite nice. So we can remove some of the hedging around it, potentially, and create it into a slightly larger area. So it does have that little picnic thing on the back, which is kind of funny. But we could team it up with that office pretty nicely. And then if we try and find maybe a 4x4 if we have one. We don't have one. So something a little bit lower to go in the back here as well. That could work. And then what we can do is do a little bit of adjusting to make this into one complex. So let's get out better bulldozer. We'll go to remove our sub elements. We're definitely going to remove that hedge there. And I think this one at the back there. And this hedge in the middle. Because they're kind of separating out our complex at the moment. And then we could come in with an invisible road network. Let's plug this into there, coming around this way. And we could have a little bit more car parking in here. So I think we will use our dome car parks for this because they're going to just fit in pretty nicely down here. And it doesn't look like Line Tool is going to be our friend with these. So let's turn off snapping to side road for starters. We'll place 2 in like that. And then we can place a couple more on the end. And of course what we want to do is then come in and repair these surfaces. So let's we're going to remove this grass strip from here because that doesn't fit in too well. And I think we'll probably adjust this grass strip rather than, actually let's remove it for now. Yeah, we'll remove it. And then we'll come in and extend this one out. That's going to meet up with that concrete texture pretty nicely there. We can then pull it up all the way around our car park as well, like that. So that's going to sit in pretty nicely. We definitely want some kind of like small wall, I'm thinking here, just to divide off that car park area. So let's just do it like that so pedestrians could feasibly walk around the end as well. And that'll serve pretty nicely. So there's a nice bit of car parking in there. It's all kind of joined up into one complex as well. This is a little bit jarring in the middle. So I think we're going to remove these little bushes from here. We'll take those out of there and then we'll come back in and actually pull up this surface so it's meeting this other one. And then I think here, let's do a little pathway that's going to run out the back here onto this road, so it's almost like you can walk in and through here. We could add some more decoration by the way of some more hedges just to kind of divide up this area where those bushes were. Not super loving those lights either, so I think we're going to trim those off as well. And these ones that feel slightly oddly placed there. We definitely want some lights on this street though, so we will come in and do that. And then we've also got this gap here where there could definitely be another hedge just for decoration. And then I think we'll come round and continue this hedge on round like this to kind of complete the complex. So now hopefully it looks like it should be slightly more of one area. We can also then beef it up with a few little trees as well. I think probably a poplar. Let's go for a grown one so we can actually see it. We could sort of stick these just the other side of the hedge here. So kind of up against that hedge as a bit of decoration in the middle of the complex. And actually I do think this surface would probably be beneficial to move this all the way up to the edge as well. Then we could keep this as a small kind of garden area maybe. So let's just create a little bit of a walkway there. And then yeah, we could have a nice big tree in the back to fill this space, so a nice big oak. That would be pretty good in there. It's a small kind of garden area that could maybe sit under the oak for a little bit of shade for their lunch break. Could be quite nice. Then we've got the opportunity to add some props in the back here. But that does give us a sort of small office complex. Of course, we could come in and change all the signs as well, make them all the same, but we won't worry too much about that for now. And then we want to add in some more industry around it. We've actually still got office demand. I'm quite surprised at that. So let's actually come in and see what else we could do here. So all of these offices tend to be kind of almost corner units. So something like that on the entrance might look quite nice there. And then this is potentially quite a good one to put as part of an industrial complex because it has a slightly more square look. We've got a fence yard out the back here that we could probably play with as well. So let's come into some industry. So this one could be pretty good. I think we'll go in and add a small alleyway into here. So let's do this around the back, something like that. Then let's grab that industrial building that we found, if I can remember which one it is, this one. Yes, we'll add that on the side. Unfortunately, it's got smokestacks. We can remove those in just a second. And this isn't a bad one as well. That could be relatively flexible. And we'll see if we can find some smaller... Yeah, we've got this nice warehouse here. So this actually isn't going to get smokestacks against it, which I always approve of. And then we've got space for some extra detailing around it as well. So again, I'll come into this later and we'll readjust the surfaces and add a bit of fencing in to make that feel like one complex too. But I think this is what we want to do all over here. So it's just a matter of kind of going through and finding the right assets for what you want here. So I'd definitely like some more warehouses, I think, because they have a sort of the right vibe we're looking for around the bus station here. We pop that in there. Do we still have room for the garages on the side? Ooh, just about. It's a little bit close for comfort. So let's just move this over. That's going to be a little bit better there. We can find a few more assets to put along the edge, and then perhaps what we do is also then grab our little alleyway road again and draw this out the back so that we can add in some car parking behind it. or potentially a delivery yard one side, something like that. I think we'd decorate that out quite nicely. And then we have space here as well to extend the garages out this way, and we just want to come in and fill this in with a little bit more industry. I'm just checking, we've placed that in and we're still at 238k. We're still making £2 an hour even with this. And that's 87,000 a month. Whoa. So that one is expensive. No denying that. And actually we probably should have turned it off to save our money until we've got our buses in, which is costing us a lot less now. Yeah, that's decent. Right, let's finish off this industrial area. Yeah, so this looks pretty pants right now, but we'll definitely come in with a lot of detailing around this, and hopefully that can all kind of blend in nicely, get the green belt going in here with a few pedestrian crossings. People can get easily to and from the area as well. I think that'll be okay. Definitely trim back on the smokestacks here as well, because this close to residential, I don't think we want too much of that polluting industry. The other thing I do want to do, we've got a little bit of commercial demand, is just add a tiny bit into here as well. So let's find some suitable commercial that might fit here. We want kind of a corner shop type vibe. Something like that, or pharmacy. There we go, that's quite nice. And I'm not opposed to a few little car parking spaces on the front, so that could go in pretty nicely. Do we have a 2x4 to finish that off? There we go. And all of those have immediately got companies in them. In fact, this is an electronics shop. Maybe it makes sense because we've got the industry right there. There we go, we've got a tiny little strip of shops out for this neighbourhood, just to give them a little bit of commercial slightly closer to home. But yeah, we're making loads of money actually now that we've turned that off with our boosted population and all that industry. But let's now come on to that bus station. So we'll go back over to our transport hub over here. Let's grab the small bus station and place this in. Now I am conscious we do have upgrades onto this, so things like the cafe. So I think we probably want to do this here. And I know that's overlapping the path at the back a little bit. Although what is that complaining about? Is that the station complaining? Or is that the bus station? Let's just try moving this. I don't know why it's having complaints at the back of the building. I find pretty strange. But okay, we can move it over. And then if we come in here, you can see station services actually is going to fit in pretty nicely there. We do just want to shift it over a tiny bit more. I was thinking we'd put it on this side, but that side can work, so we can work with that. So yeah, that'll fit in there. We can't put in the taxi stand yet, and we can fit those extra platforms at the back if we need to. And then the nice thing about this is actually we have got that pedestrian path running along the back side of the train station here. Now I know a couple of you said there was no pedestrian access from here. There is, they just need to walk round here and then onto this path and they're straight into the station. That is the same as a station near-ish me where there is no direct bridge over. So I am happy and content with that. I know it's a little bit of a walk, but it's maybe not as big a walk as maybe some of you thought. Maybe I didn't make it super obvious that I put in these pedestrian paths. So they are there and they can access it that way. But if you guys really, really don't like that, we could add in a pathway or something. I assume they can access the back of the platform from that side, but time will tell. So yeah, we've got this in. We've got a little bit of space for those station services. I'm wondering actually, 5,000 a month, should we just do that so that we got it in? I'm going to do it. It's maybe extra spend I didn't need to actually make, but it's quite a cute little addition to the actual asset itself. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. We then do also have this small space here that we could do a very tiny commercial unit in, if we can find one that's suitable. Definitely not a gas station. Something like that's kind of cute actually. Yeah, that looks really nice on the corner there. And we can pull out the surfaces and the hedges down round to the back of the bus station there too. So I think that will sit in pretty well. And we've got a whole big space here as well, which I'm feeling maybe a bit more commercial. We could even have an office on this corner. So let's see if we've got like a long skinny office. We have got 4x5s. I mean, that's relatively big, but I think, yeah, maybe I don't mind that around the bus station. That could work. That's a level 2, so it's not super high. We could go for the level 1. Let's go for a level 2. We'll mix in that because none of our buildings are going to upgrade, if you remember. Because we are using Plot the Growables, the level is fixed. They are historicalised. They're not going to change appearance. but that also means they don't upgrade. So that is the downside of that. And then, yeah, let's add a little commercial unit on the end here with the parking on. I don't mind that because we banned parking from this whole street as well, so that probably makes sense. They've got a little bit of parking on street down here, but not outside the main run up to our little transport hub. So again, a bit more detailing to do out here to fill in some of these odd shaped gaps, but that's going to do nicely. So let's go back over to our bus depot. We're going to turn this back on now so that we can have buses coming out. So we're at 5:46, 5:47 in the morning. So all of those buses, as soon as we put in routes, are going to start pouring out and causing traffic, but we're not at a particularly big city size right now, so I'm not too concerned with that. So let's talk routes. I think for the moment we're going to have one route which comes from this bus station out along the high street, along here. I think maybe cuts up this way, through this neighbourhood, stopping at the school, and then it can come out and maybe loop round this neighbourhood and the industry to come back. Because that's then going to serve all of this area pretty well indeed. And then we can potentially have another bus route which actually goes along the back street here, through this neighbourhood, out, round through this one, and loops back round. I'm not the biggest fan of looping routes, I'll be honest, so I think maybe we just come out to here and leave it, and then we can assume that that bus line will extend on up into the hillside neighbourhoods, which we're going to do up here. And this is where we're going to put the mansions, a much more suitable place up on the hill overlooking Fewhaven. So yeah, that's where eventually our rich housing will be. So yeah, I think that's a good plan. So I'm going to go for the North American bus stop shelters along this main street. So the buses are going to come out of here. I think we'll go down this street here. So yeah, let's have a stop. We don't want to do it too close to the junction, so I think in between these two shops here would be a nice place. And then we can mirror this on the other side as well. That's going to get rid of, yeah, we didn't have parking here anyway, so that's not a problem. So we can stop it here. And then I think we'll go 2 blocks further up. Yeah, we don't have parking here either, so that's going to work pretty well. And again, we'll drop them on both sides of the street there. And then it's going to travel up this way. So I do think one more stop actually on this road is probably going to be beneficial. Is that not adding in? That's not adding in little lay-bys, is it? Which might cause us some problems. If I then upgrade the road to say we have yeah, look at that. So if we have grass barriers, it will give us the lay-by for the bus stops, and otherwise it won't. So I'm happy with that. I'd much rather the buses pull off the actual main road to stop rather than blocking traffic, essentially. So it's going to come up here. We definitely don't want any stops on this road, I don't think. So we can then have a little stop out here. Now this is debate. Do we want to use the shelters or do we want to just use the bus stop sign? And I'm thinking the sign out here would be more than plenty. So let's drop that one in like that on both sides of the street again. We definitely then want one up near the school and near this neighbourhood. So let's actually, we have got parking there, but I don't mind getting rid of that. So let's drop one in either side there. Is that going to interfere with that entrance to the car park actually? That might. Right, let's remove those and we're going to pull it slightly further this way, which I think will still be enough room for the buses to turn in. They're not like super long assets or anything. Then we can come up and stop on this corner. Is this going to no, it's not going to change the whole street, so that's all right. We'll stop up here, which I know those two stops are quite close, but at least this will be better access for these people living at the top over here, and also access for the shops. And then the bus can come out round here, and I think we'll just have one stop in the middle of this neighbourhood. So let's say right here. Yeah, so we're getting stars all the way back to there, so I think that is reaching around. And then we can also have a cut through pedestrian path from these stops out through the industrial area here as well. So we want to make sure we're getting a path in here. So let's actually drop that in before we forget. So yeah, we'll definitely come out of here. And I think we want zebra crossings for this so that people can actually get across those roads and around the complex. So yeah, that'll be a nice kind of cut through between our different industrial complexes, getting people to and from these bus stops right here. So let's get in the line then. So we're going to start at our bus station and just follow all of our stops around. complete our first line pretty excitingly. So let's come in here. Let's just come into our bus lines. We'll call that Fewhaven 1 and let's change the colour of it as well. So should we go for a nice gritty black for our first line? It's going to be slightly difficult for us to see, but I like a black bus. Then for our second line, yeah, I think we're going to follow this route up, round and over. I'm just thinking these people have reasonable access onto these bus stops. Potentially, actually, we do come up through the middle slightly more here, and that'll be better access for either side. So yeah, I think that's what we'll do. So let's grab the bus shelter to start off with. We'll have one stop outside of the primary school here. And then I think we can keep having bus shelters here because it's slightly closer to the town centre than the other neighbourhood was. We'll drop one there. We'll also have one up the end over here. And then we're going to come over this bridge and up through this neighbourhood. So I think we'll drop one. Let's actually do it on the side of the triangle, either side there. Actually, I'm going to change my mind. We'll do it here because then eventually it can follow on this road up on the hill and continue on. But for now, we'll just kind of leave it at that point. So that completes that line. And then I think for this neighbourhood right now, because they're fairly close to the station, we're going to leave that. But eventually we definitely will have a route that's going to come up alongside here and cross over round to the beach area, I think. And I think what I'll probably do is this black line will also continue on round this side. So it'll actually go past the bus station and continue on round to wherever it needs to go down in this direction. So that's a sort of longer term plan for that. We're saying we don't have enough vehicles. So we do just want to check our lines really quickly here and how many vehicles they're using. Let's also rename this one and we can change the colour of this too. Let's go for a nice dark green. So we've got 5 buses here and 1 here. Let's just see what the depot has. So the depot has 25 buses, so I think that's just a case of they're still coming out of the depot and that's really all there actually is to that. I think what I probably will do is get the depot capacity adjuster mod, which I played with before, because I don't want to be placing bus depots left, right and centre just to have enough for our routes. I think 5 buses on that one is probably about right actually. It says we've got 97 passengers waiting. Have a little look, can we see? Passengers waiting 2, 15, oh, 22, 55 passengers waiting. Let's actually just go to that stop. This is on the high street, of course, so that makes a little bit of sense. Oh, yes, there's lots of people. Well, it's busy at least. Needed. The bus line is needed. So there we go. That no vehicles option should disappear once all of those vehicles come out of the bus depot. I actually haven't seen any going around right now. Oh, here they are. So they are coming. Oh, we've got the CO buses in use. I forgot about that. So let's actually come back in here. And of course, on buses, we can change them here to different types. So I wonder, we don't have the facility for electric buses yet. I think I'm just going to use the regular buses on both of them, because then we can actually see the colours of them, and I feel like that's quite nice. So sorry, CO buses, bye-bye. That means this is going to take even longer to sort out, and we're probably going to have even more people waiting at our stops, but that is what it is. Okay, so it wasn't quite the episode I was expecting. Next time we will definitely come on to our hillside park and start developing out this way. But for now, I'm going to come in and finish off this area with a ton of detailing and of course also those little bits around our transport hub. Then we can come back at the end, have a look at what it's done to budget, have a look how those bus lines are performing, and do a little bit of an audit check before we move on to the next episode.
might be the one that truly got me. I feel it too. Might be the one that truly got me. I feel it too. I feel it too. Might be the one that truly got me. I feel it too.
Okay, so we have another new neighbourhood in, and I'm pretty pleased with how this little area has turned out. When I kind of first dropped the buildings in, I was like, oh god, no, but just tiny amounts of detailing around them, and it feels much more consistent now. So even this kind of clump of buildings over here, clump of industry, a few little decals, just adding in some extra surfaces to fill in some of that very plain grass area, like this sort of overgrown area. Maybe someone will come and buy out this tiny strip of land for development at another time, a future date, that sort of thing. And it kind of feels pretty cohesive. So we have just adjusted a few surfaces here or there, like I said. We made another complex out of this one, really dirtied this up, a few extra parking lots in here as well, and a few kind of crate decals. Reorganised some of the fences, so I think it was this one actually. I had deleted those fences. Things keep reappearing, so there's a few little bugs going on, I will admit, throughout the game, but let's remove those again, and then we kind of get this huge yard around this industry building, which I quite enjoy indeed around there. I think there might have been a bit of decoration in here as well, so let's actually just add something back in, because I definitely feel like there was something here, at least. Yeah, this one feels alright, so yeah, let's add this back in, just so we've got... Oh, hello. Hang on. Okay, I'll put that in, and now all of a sudden this ginormous monster's in, but okay, alright. Maybe I'll click the random one. That'll do anyway, that's not too bad. We do need to keep control of the smokestacks over here. There's only 3 at the moment, so that's not too bad at all. But yeah, really liking how these sort of extra complexes work out. I have also done the green belt over here. I made this into a park area, so as you can see, there's Sims like walking all over it. I don't know why they're stood on that corner. I have no idea. Like, if we click on one of them, does it say what they're actually doing? They're shopping, apparently. Ah, they're homeless. So I wonder if because it's not an actual proper park area, maybe the tents can't spawn in, so they just sort of hang around the corner. Yes, all of them are homeless, unfortunately. We need to somehow get that under control. But there we go, we've got this nice little park area in, Sims walking on the park, off the park. It's a little bit distracting, but those areas work really, really well. I have noticed though, they do come at a cost. So if you put in a park area, you will see when you come to your services tab, you have this extra fee against landscaping, but frankly, it's tiny, so it doesn't really matter too much at all. In this neighbourhood, we really just filled it in with a few little trees in different places, extra hedges and fences around the place just to fill that out. And similarly over here, yeah, they're backyards. I've just added in kind of communal areas around the back of these little condo blocks. I really like the extra height that these add as well. So we've got a low income area there. This is slightly more wealthy, this side. Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. I did also detail out this little triangle with a few benches, a surface and a big tree in the middle, next to our row of shops. And just to note, I've added in a few extra offices here because we are all of a sudden making an absolute massive, almost 16,000 an hour, which I'm surprised at considering we've added in expensive buses this episode. And the reason for that is actually having the tax down at 9% for offices. You can see we're still maxed out on demand for it. And from a tax point of view, we've got so few offices in here compared to any other zone, but it's making an absolute killing. So I still think they're a bit overpowered from a tax point of view, but that is seriously helping our budget. We've also got residential and industrial down to 11 as well. I mean, the demands are all there. Even for industrial, it may not be full, but all of our buildings are full up. And we had a couple of empty warehouses in here, which I swapped out for more office. So that's really helped with the money. I kind of feel a bit more confident about putting in more expensive power now, potentially more expensive garbage, because this is basically full. We're going to have problems with that. You can see we have got a few warnings across the city as well. So I think it's time to kind of adjust some service budgets here. And then we're definitely going to want more power at some point. So I think a big power plant is incoming. Let me know in the comments below what kind of power plant you would like to see in Philadelphia, and we can see if we can work with that. Obviously, some of them cost $1 million and we don't have that much money yet, but we're headed there, so I feel kind of confident about that. But yeah, healthcare, deathcare, I've already raised that up to 100% actually, because we were getting a lot of ambulance warnings, so that's now sitting at 100. Garbage is also at 100 because frankly we needed the processing capacity for that. Education, I think let's raise this back up to 100 because we can afford it. We've got more than enough money at the moment for that. Similarly for fire, I'm not really getting any issues with that at the moment. If we have a little look at the info view here, fire and rescue, average fire hazard is sort of hovering around the orange mark, but I don't know, we don't really seem to have that many problems, so I'm kind of content on leaving that and we can let the money build up instead. Police as well, I think we are getting a few more problems, so let's just raise this up to 70%, let's say. Transport, I also raised that up to 60 because we weren't getting enough buses out. So one little thing, you'll see here, it was saying 6 out of 25, so I thought, oh, we've got the capacity for it, but they just weren't coming out. As soon as I raised it, it went up to 9 out of 25. So that's something to bear in mind, is you may need to adjust that service budget for buses just to get that up. Oh yes, we do have a lot of police warnings right now. Let's just take a little, maybe we go a little bit higher. Let's go 90%. In fact, actually, let's just bulk it up to 100 and then we're running as efficiently as we possibly can for that. So even with those adjustments, we're still making 12 grand an hour. So yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Definitely need a power plant. We also want to change out the poop pit and get in a proper waterworks. We've got tons of development points, so we can afford to do that. So yeah, definitely let me know what type of power plant you'd like to see in the next episode. And let's take a look at our little bus lines. So we've got this green bus line, which is the one that is running up through this neighbourhood and onto the other side, that will be extended out when we build up that way. This one's got no passengers on it. And if we have a little look, there's not that many passengers waiting really on any of the stops actually. 2, 0, 1. How full are our buses? If we click on those, this one's got 5 people on it. This one's got no one. 4. So this bus line's not really doing anything at the moment. We have got 4 vehicles on it. Maybe that's overkill, but it's reasonably long. So I think I'm happy to leave those for the time being. Now, if we go to the black bus route, this is a totally different story. So you can see this one is full. This one is almost full. This one's got, well, 22 out of 80, 24 out of 80. So that's doing pretty well. If we look at some of the stops, some of them, like this one, 36 passengers waiting. And I think this is, yeah, one of the ones on the high street. So that is a very busy stop there. Another busy stop is also this one in the middle of the high street. Where is it? Over here. Actually, that's cleared now. That's good news. That was really busy a second ago. So they must have all been picked up. We also have this one, 24 people waiting. So it's not a complete disaster. Now, this is by the low income neighbourhood over here. Yeah, not a complete disaster. So I think we'll leave those for the moment. If we just take a little look at this bus actually. Oh, here it goes. It's incoming here. It's got 77 people on, so almost full. Yeah, so a lot of people got off. So I don't think we need more buses for the moment. I think that's pretty good. And we'll leave that as 5 buses on that route. But that route definitely seems to be paying off. There's people waiting at almost all of the stops along the line, which is good news. So that one is kind of efficient. This one much less so. So we might want to debate whether we change this, but like I said, that one is going to be extended on up into the hillside. So I think once we reach that point, we'll start getting a bit more usage from it. Because at the moment, the people in this development, it's really not that far for them to walk. So yeah, I think that's okay. So for today, that is going to be it. But if you have enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares are greatly appreciated. Keep those ideas coming for what you want to see in the rest of the city. We've still got that hillside park, beach area to do. What would you like to see there? Let me know in the comments. That's all from me for now. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye bye.